Okay, I don't have anything ready yet, but I'm already late, so it's time to get this started. Don't worry, I can work on things in the meantime. So, let's make sure that I haven't screwed anything else up. That's off, that's off, that's off, that is apparently on. That says the stream is going, so everything should be good now. I think we're ready to get going. So let's do that. Hello, Shadowcat back! And we are back with the Psykers. Possibly, very possibly, for the last time. Because so far we have done all of the combat abilities for Psykers. We've handled all of their local abilities, which lets them affect an entire town or city. We have covered their regional abilities, which lets them affect just large swaths of land. Now we move into the last two categories, and I think they're going to go pretty quick. We move into the continental levels, where we're talking about anywhere from 25 to 50% of the planet, and then the actual planetary abilities, which, I mean, there's not too many planetary abilities that I can think of. So, you know, maybe you get to chip in a few here. I guess we'll find out. But I just need to make sure that this page is ready. And I think it is. I just need to rename this page. You don't realize we're on our 22nd spreadsheet here. 22 pages. I mean, and that's just, you know, on the spreadsheet. If I actually had to print it out into pages, it'd probably be a small book by now. So this is going to be Psykers Continental / Global. Oh, I can't put a slash in there. There. Good enough for me. Okay, so I look at the chat. I see that Blizzard's in the chat. Hello, Blizzard. Good to see you. And I may as well go ahead and get everything pulled up. We're going to need, of course, our spreadsheet. And we're going to need the wiki, probably. So we've got this going for us. Now, just as a quick recap, when we went to the regional level, we started working not just in, like, specific units, but we started working in actual percentages of the planet. So the range that we're operating on here, instead of having resistances, we're having ranges on this one. And that is going to be just enormous. So depending on how big the planet is, we're talking about anywhere from 2% of the planet for your pi level Psyker to over a quarter of it for an alpha. Now, why is this significant? Well, because the wider our reach becomes, the more diluted the power becomes. Which is understandable. If you have a drop of paint, and you drop all of it in one spot, well, you have a very intense color. The more you smear it out and spread it, the thinner it becomes and the lighter it becomes. It dilutes over distance. So while your Psykers can go ahead and just set something on fire right in front of them, they can't set something on fire that is a quarter of the way across the world. Jeffrey's in the chat. Hello, Jeffrey. Good to see you too. So, last time we were talking about the regional area, we're talking about anywhere up to a quarter of the planet, and we can do things like create heat waves and cold snaps. We can blot out the sun. We can blight the land. Or we can just screw without anything that's electrical. So, I mean, that's really good. For healing, there was only one thing that I could think of that really worked, and that was just simply healing. And that is drawing just a sliver of HP from everything around you to heal yourself instantly. And doing so not at the cost of anyone else's hit points. Unlike at the local level where it took one hit point away from everybody within the radius. And it healed you up completely. Actually, it overheals you, but since you can't have that many, that's how it works. Now, we got to keep in mind that the healing that you can, or the leeching that you can do in combat is a direct combat ability. You pick a single target, you rip the life out of them, and instill it into yourself. And so, the healing is not that much. However, it also only costs you 1 power point. And depending on how good of a Psyker you are, you're probably going to have several. This healing doesn't hurt anyone else, and it completely restores you entirely, but it does cost you 25 points. So that's where it's going to become really significant. This sounds great until you realize just how much power it actually takes to do it. For telekinesis, we have the Gate of Infinity, so now we can teleport. It works just like any other teleport, except the range is now a quarter of the way across the planet. Telekine Dome was very difficult. We did that one. And this is just going to essentially give you a sense of whoever is moving around you. And again, I think we've extended this one as far as we possibly can. I mean, if we extend it again to even further across the planet, it's not going to work. Dominate. So at the combat level, Dominate can directly give you control over a person. At the local level, you can compel the population at large to do whatever you want, but you can't control any one person directly. You can make them all, or at least a percentage of the population, do what you want. At the regional level, you can't even do that much. Instead, it's just a large-scale suggestion. We're talking more or less the same thing, but it's only half as effective, and the amount of things that you can do are less. So, for like the local level, technically speaking, if you wanted to, say, assassinate a target and you couldn't do it, you could dominate the entire city, tell them to find someone, and then tear them apart. With the suggestion over a regional area, that's not even an option. So, yeah, you can't do that. And then for divination, it's just simply you can ask the GM questions. And yeah, you'll get that. JP is in the chat. Hello, JP. Good to see you here. And it's okay that you're late. I was a little bit late too. My life is just all kinds of like weird right now. So, speaking about my life being weird, I suppose I should get this out of the way first. So, I am going to be leaving for Colorado. I live in Pennsylvania, but I'm going to be leaving for Colorado. I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks. So, this is going to be the last live stream for a couple of weeks. Which, I don't feel good about this either, but I don't really have a choice in the matter. I have to go. So, there's going to be a couple of weeks with no live streams. Don't worry though, I'm not leaving you, okay? It's not over. We will come back. Today, I'm really hoping that we're going to get through the continental powers and the planetary powers, and we'll be done with Psykers, and then, when I come back, we'll be able to take care of the nulls and the blanks, because they're going to require their own power system. And that's going to be weird. It's going to be very weird. However, I have been thinking about it, and I do have ideas as to how we're going to make that work. Let's see, and JP says, no streams. What are we going to do on Sunday mornings? Well, I guess you could do what normal people do and go to church. I mean, to be fair, whenever I do this stream, I'm competing with church. I like to think that I do pretty well, okay? I'm not doing great. I'm not doing great, but then again, the Catholic Church does have about a 6,000 year start on me, I think. So, I fully expect that in 6,000 years, I should rival the Catholic Church. That being said, if anybody has gold they would like to donate, I will set up a P.O. box. Never hurts to get an early start. Okay. So, next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to start on the continental level. Now, continental means, in this context, anywhere from 1% of the planet, or I guess 2% of the planet, because of how this is going to work, up to 50% of the planet. And so I'm going to have to completely redo all of this. Now, when we did it the last time, the beta was the 25% mark because 15 divided better. And so I think that's what we're going to do this time. For the betas, I think we'll make these our 50%. And then I'm going to see what happens if I divide 50 by 15. Let's see. So, where's my calculator? There's my calculator. And Jeffrey, you don't know if you brought up your idea yet. I am not aware of which idea you're referring to. So, if you brought it up with other people, you didn't bring it up with me. But then again, maybe I'm not involved, so I don't know. Alright, 50 divided by 15 levels comes out to 3 1/3. So, I believe that was the same thing it was for 25, right? 25 divided by 15 was 1 2/3. Okay, so 50 divided by 15 is 3 1/3. That means that every single one of these numbers has to go down by 3 1/3. That means that 2 levels would be 6 2/3. 3 levels would be an equal 9? No, 10. Yeah, that makes sense. So, starting at 50, that would be 1, 2, 3. And this should be 40. Well, I do believe that's exactly how it went with the other one, right? Not $40, 40%. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how it went with the other one. So this should be 30%. This one should be 20%? Am I getting this right? That's 1, 2, 3. That should be 10%. And then that brings me down to 0 at row, who doesn't have any power at all. Alright, yeah, no, that's exactly perfect. Now I just got to figure out how I'm going to split the difference in here. And since that's going to be an increase of 33 1/3, that means that essentially this would be 43 1/3. I'm just going to call this 43%. And then this would be 46.66, so I'm going to call that 47%. Okay, good. I like it. Now, what good are we going to do over this? I'm not entirely certain, but I just need to do this over the course of, or over the rest of the distances. That's going to be 27% and 23%, not ampersand. 17%, 13%, and that's going to be 7% and So even the lowest level Psykers, even Pi level, who are the only ones, or the lowest level to actually still have some kind of power, even they have increased in their range a little bit. And that means that up here, the alphas are actually going to go up to 53%, which means that they still push beyond the boundary, which is really good. It makes those alphas just that extra little bit special. Okay, so what's this in the chat? Jeffrey says, okay, well, it was a Warhammer idea. I think that's a really good idea for this stream. Where all the players were heads of an army trying to... I assume that's siege. That's not how you spell siege, but I think that's what you're trying to say. Siege or take one location, I think it was, but... see, JP had a better way of saying it. Let's see. No, I said it was like, well, I thought of playing a whole army like Krieg. One person was the head of one unit. No, JP says, my mind said it of Krieg, but thought we were kind of generals. Our units like artillery, engineers, horsemen, tanks, footmen, but it would be cooler if we were generals of different armies. Okay. I'm not entirely certain, but I think I have the general gist of that idea. So, commanding armies is nothing new in Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, ever since people have been playing these role-playing games, especially given that they are kind of fantasy, you can only really be an adventurer for so long. Like, if you take your classic character, you start off at level 1, okay? And at level 1, you are desperate. You are, say, a level 1 fighter, okay? We're going to take our basic bitch, just level 1 human fighter. Which, by the way, I'm just going to go out and say it, human fighters get a bad rap. Human fighters are actually really awesome because human fighters can do literally anything except cast magic. Until you take a feat that lets you cast magic, in which case then they can. So, anyway, level 1 human fighter. Of course, you're going to want to have a weapon. Now, what weapon you're going to have is going to be a sword or an axe or a hammer, because, let's face it, somebody else is probably going to have a bow, and you don't want to have a bow and be in melee combat. It goes really poorly for you. You will maybe have some leather or padded armor. If you're really fancy, you might even get some chainmail. And that's going to be about it. As a level 1 fighter, you're not going to have trinkets and amulets. You're not going to have rings. You're not even going to have potions. You're going to be lucky to have a bedroll. You will have your armor. You'll have your sword. You will hopefully have a backpack to carry stuff in. You'll have a bedroll and some food to eat. Welcome to level 1. Okay? But you have to keep in mind that at some point, you're going to level up, and not just once. Okay? You're going to hit at some point like level 10, level 12, whatever it happens to be. And I gotta look something up here. Where's my browser? There's my browser. We're gonna go back to Pathfinder. And where is this gonna be? Is this gonna be under rules? Or is it gonna be under equipment? I'm not sure. I'm gonna check equipment first. Yeah, here we go. Wealth and money. Starting character wealth. Okay. So, starting character wealth, and we'll take a look at this. If you're an alchemist, your starting character wealth is 105 gold pieces because they are scholars and they tend to be a bit more wealthy. Bards, barbarians, okay, cavaliers, because cavaliers are like knights, they get more gold pieces to start with. They're expected to have like a horse and heavy armor and everything. Your fighters start off with 175 gold pieces because all of their money goes into their equipment, not so much their education. But you see that we've got all of this, and as any of my players in the chat will be able to attest to, is that the starting money that you get goes really, really fast. However, for characters above the first level, see the table character wealth by level. Where is that? Plot items, magic items. Where can I find character wealth by level? This is not a link. That's starting. Let's see. Coins, other wealth, selling treasure. That's all on this page. Heirloom items, setting plot, mighty, wealthy characters. Doesn't actually show me. Character wealth by level. Alright, let me search this up on my phone then. So annoying. PFSRD, character, wealth, by level. I hate typing on my phone. Oh, it's under character advancement. That's why. Okay, here we go. Experience total, feats, yes. Wealth, okay. PC wealth at level 1 is by class. And here's what they recommend. At level 2, your wealth should be about 1,000 gold pieces. So, you saw how much everyone got at level 1. We're talking about a between 5 and 10 times advancement in wealth. At level 2, this actually tracks with how much XP you need. At level 2, they expect you to be at least 3,000 gold pieces in wealth. Level 4 is 6,000, but let's jump down. So let's say a level 10 character. How much wealth are you expected to have? At level 10, they average it to be about 62,000 gold pieces in wealth. At level 12, that goes up to 108,000. And I don't want to go all the way up to level 20 because that's kind of the end of the game, but at level 17, 410,000 gold pieces worth of wealth. Now, just to point out, that is wealth. Wealth does not mean liquid currency, which is something that people forget every single day. Especially when they talk about, you know, eat the rich and the billionaires are going to ruin everything. It's like, yeah, these people, most of their assets are tied up in land and buildings and investments. That's not liquid wealth. So your fighter who is worth 500,000 gold pieces, you're talking about magic weapons, you're talking about magic armor, we're talking rings, amulets, all that kind of stuff. But the point is that at that point, and I want to show something here. I want to go to skills. Because I want to look at profession. This is how you can earn a living. Literally, that's what it says. For every character, every NPC, okay, that you're looking at, that is farmers, that is cobblers, that is metal workers, ironsmiths, things like that. Earning a living, this is what they do. So if you want to go through and you're a thief and you say, I'm going to start robbing the village blind, I'm going to be rich, it's like, yeah, no. This is what you get. And by the way, this is per week of dedicated work. That word right there is doing a lot of lifting. Dedicated work. That means you're not adventuring. You're not researching. You're not doing anything but working for a week. and you can earn half of your profession check as a result in gold pieces. So profession is a wisdom skill. So let's say that you got a really great wisdom skill. Let's say that you are one of the wisest people in town. You have an 18 in wisdom, which for an NPC is just, that's incredible. So you are the wisest person in town. That means at level 1, because you're probably going to be like a level 1, and NPCs generally are, that means it's a d20 plus, and let's assume that you get to put 1 point in profession because NPC, plus 1, and let's assume that commoners, do commoners have, I do believe that commoners have profession as, let's see, I do believe they have it, where is it? Here we go, commoner. Is it a class skill? Yes, it is. Okay, so 1 point into profession. They get plus 3 because of their class skill. And then they have a plus 4 from their wisdom because they are so very, very wise. That means if they roll a natural 20, the highest they can get is 28. And you get half of your profession check in gold pieces per week. So the most gold this level 1 NPC could make per week is 14. But then, you have to keep in mind that you have expenses. You have to buy food. You may have animals to tend to. You may have repairs that you have to make. All of your expenses have to come out of this 14 gold. If you have a family, that's more mouths to feed. If anyone is sick, you may need to find a doctor. Okay, we understand how life works. Your commoner is going to be capped out at like 14 gold a week for the absolute best week of their life. And you, as like a level 17, level 18 fighter, are going to have a 500,000 in gold pieces. Eventually, at some point, you buy a castle. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. At some point, you buy a castle. At some point, you buy land. And once you bought a castle, once you bought land, you now have armies. Because you're going to have serfs, you're going to have peasants, you're going to need to have somebody to watch after those serfs and peasants, so you're going to have lords, you're going to have knights, you're going to have an army. So this has been done. And yes, high-level campaigns have been run where you actually have to manage the politics of your kingdom, your relationships with neighboring kingdoms. Sometimes you go to war. So, this is not exactly an unknown. Having the players in Warhammer playing as generals is not necessarily a bad idea. However, number one, it's going to require a very specific campaign. Number two, it will require a very high-level campaign. Because you would have to be able to afford all of that. And JP says, after adjustment, we started around 1,200, 14... No, there was no adjustment. You all got 1,000. Okay, you all got 1,000... You all got 1,000 credits to start off with. And yes, castles. Eventually you can buy a castle. I wonder if they have numbers here for that. Equipment. I don't know if they would have it listed here because that one is really just... I don't think it's going to be in here. If it's going to be anywhere, it would probably be here? That's vehicles and stuff. Land transportation, sea, air. Let's do a quick little Google search here. So, Pathfinder castle cost. I am not the first person to ask this question. Let's see. Obviously, castles are rather pricey. Oh, this doesn't actually tell me. I have no idea off the top of my head. I would have to do some research and find out how much of an investment it would have to be. But you eventually do either buy or build a castle. You have to. And JP says, it could be seen as a one-shot, something like a chessboard view with armies as single units. That's essentially actually what Warhammer Tabletop actually is. One of the things that I learned early on is that everything when you're playing the miniatures game is a representation. Because you might have a squad of 10 Space Marines. You might also have a squad of, say, 20 Termagants, which are very small Tyranid. Okay, they're like the Zerglings. Okay, Zerglings were based off of Termagants. However, when you get into the actual lore, the numbers of the Tyranid are uncountable. Like, the Imperium runs off of numbers. The reason why the Imperial Guard works is because the Imperium of Man can literally just grab manpower from wherever and throw it into the Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard and the Tyranid are kind of the same in that regard. But on the tabletop, you can't fit 10,000 Termagants on there. So, in essence, what happens is, on the table, it looks like you have 10 Space Marines versus 20 Termagants. In reality, though, you have 10 Space Marines versus about 2,000 Termagants. And so, every Space Marine is, in essence, worth about 200 Termagants, and that's what they would be expected to kill. Which, according to the lore, is pretty accurate. You can drop Space Marines into that kind of fight, and yeah, Space Marines will clean up. Especially if it's just Termagants. You get into some of the other things, and that's why when you get into the bigger models, they come in singles. Because there is only like maybe one or two of something that big and powerful. The same is also true when it comes to things like Imperial Guard, though. The reason why you have Imperial Guard that come in a squad of 20 is because every single one of those models is representative of, say, 100 other guardsmen. And everything has to be scaled down to fit on a table. So doing something like a chessboard where you have a symbol to represent an entire squad, yeah, that could be done. When it comes to this, though, what you would essentially do is you would just be clashing numbers together. And you would be able to use different tactics and strategies to adjust those numbers. There are rules in here. I'm not going to look them up because I don't know where they are. But it can be done. And I'm actually kind of fine with that. I don't know what level it will be when we go through to do the Warhammer one, but if you end up in command of, say, big armies like that, then we'll work with it. Especially since Warhammer 40k is kind of built for it. I mean, in my Star Trek games going on right now, we have a starship and it has 6 people on it. There is no such thing as a ship that small in Warhammer 40k. Even rogue trader ships have thousands of people on them. So yeah, it's big. It's really big. Anyway, though, we're going to get back to work on this because we have got to get this done, and I really, really want to finish up the continental and global stuff today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label this continental. Just so that I can have this stuff separate down here. Alright, so going back, what can we expand? At the regional level, we had energy release. And energy release, we can't set fire to anything, however, we can raise the temperature by 2 steps for a number of days. What I think we're going to do is I think that we're going to just kind of... We're just kind of copy this over. The problem is that not everything's going to copy over well. Like, we can take fire and cold, and we can just say, okay, instead of it being by 2 steps, we can raise and lower the temperature by 1 step. Oh, PC Unicorn's in the chat. Hello. Well, and JP, it's not necessarily that I'm getting off track. It's that it was a really good question, or a really good suggestion that requires a more detailed answer. I can't just say, like, you know, when you said, we could have armies, I can't just say, yes. Because that doesn't really cover everything that needed to be said about it. I can't just say, yes, you can have armies, because now you're going to go off and say, well, that's great, I want my own army. It's like, there's more to it than that. You need to be incredibly wealthy to have a standing army. And even then, back in medieval times, it wasn't a standing army. Standing armies did not really become a thing until... what would it have been? Like the Napoleonic era? I'm not exactly sure when standing armies became a thing. But relatively speaking to human history, it's relatively new. Because it used to be you had to raise an army. You had to send out missives to every village, every hamlet, every town, telling every able-bodied man, you are being called upon to fight. This idea of having people in your army just waiting for their time to be used, that didn't happen. Okay, I'm going to copy this over, and I'm going to make the modifications to it. However, the others, I don't know. I don't know if I can actually do anything with them. So I'm going to copy this over here. And I'm just going to make some modifications. So this is going to be 1 step. And we'll do the same thing here. Okay, and JP says, raising an army means 2 very different things with the same result if a necromancer's involved. This is true. This is absolutely true. Okay, so... with energy release, we can raise the temperature over a certain area by 1 step. And the temperature changes 1 step per day. So, if you are just like a pi level psyker, okay, lowest level psyker, you can raise the temperature over 3% of the planet for a few days. It's not going to be much. And it's just one step higher, so if the temperature is normal, you can make it warm. Which, I mean, I'm all for, actually. I think that's great. Like, if I could cast that right now, I would totally do that. Next, however, lightning. The thundercloud already lowers light levels over the region by 1 step. I can't do it a half a step. There is no such thing as a half a step light level. For Blight, the effect is a poison over the area. The DC is sensitivity per day. I could technically do that again and maybe half the DC. But even then, I'm not sure if that's worth it. But I could do it, and disrupting harmonics, I could do the same thing, I suppose. So, sure, why not? We'll copy this over. And this is going to be... I'm going to write this out this way. It's going to be sensitivity. Actually, I'm going to say 1/2 sensitivity rounded down per day. I actually don't need that parenthesis. Copy that, put that here. And that'll be good. That means that essentially, like, even your alpha level psychers would still be able to poison up to half of the world. But at that point, I mean, there's very few people that are going to really succumb to it. I mean, at sensitivity level 16, half of their sensitivity means it's going to be a DC 8. That means that the majority of people are going to be fine, with the only exception possibly being the elderly. Because as your character gets older, your physical stats suffer. You start taking penalties to your strength, dexterity, and constitution. So all it's really going to do is cull the old. Same thing here with any weapons, armor, vehicles. Maybe they malfunction, but probably not. Alright, that's about the best I can do because I don't see anything for lightning to do. Let's see, JP says, a necromancer pushing a cart through the village street says, "Bring out your dead!" That's a new perspective to the Monty Python skit. That's actually a good plan, though. Like, could you imagine? And actually, it's been done before, but imagine that the local undertaker is also a necromancer. And so they're, you know, digging holes and holding funerals and everything else. But afterwards, they simply take the corpse and maybe stash it somewhere. And maybe they have an entire catacomb of corpses that they've simply been sitting on. Why? We don't know, but maybe you as a party need to go investigate that. PCO says, "Rogue, we must avenge my brother." The knight says, "You have my sword." The dwarf says, "And my axe." The necromancer says, "And your brother." I've seen that one before. It's still good. Necromancers can be fun. I find necromancers to be very underutilized. I don't think people in general understand necromancers. Like, I've had people that want to play necromancers, and then they ask me, it's like, well, what should I do? I'm like, well, number one, it's your character. You shouldn't have to ask me what to do. And number two, you're a necromancer. Figure it out. Like, I don't understand why people have this difficulty with, my character's a cleric. What am I going to do with my cleric? I'm going to go to town, and I'm going to tell people about my religion. It's like, okay, so you're just going to, like, stand in the street corner and proselytize? Yes. Great. Everyone ignores you. No, if you're a cleric, you're going to want to go through and do all of the priestly things. If somebody is feeling down, or somebody is clearly in distress, you're going to go comfort them. If somebody is in need of your services, say they need a witness, or they want to get married, or whatever, you're going to offer them that service. And if somebody dies, and there's no one else around, of their faith, you say, you know what, I may not be of the same faith, but allow me to, administer this funeral service. And so that's what clerics and paladins can do. But I don't know if you realize that necromancers can do the same thing. They may not do things like the weddings and stuff, but they can absolutely come by and say, oh, somebody died? I'm a necromancer. I deal with funerals all the time. Allow me to administer this funeral. I literally have everything I need. I have candles, I have incense, and I have experience. You want somebody to comfort you? Necromancers. Why? Because necromancers are used to dealing with people in distress. I mean, usually they're the ones causing the distress, but they're used to dealing with it. Necromancers can be so well-rounded, and people play them as just the minion master. And it's really, really unfair to necromancers. Maybe I should do an entire series on how to play different characters. Except how to be a great GM. If you've never seen the channel How to Be a Great GM, I recommend it highly. But he's already basically done that. He's already covered all the different classes and professions. He's already covered all the alignments and what they mean. And he does so with a better presentation than I do. I mean, am I on his level? Yeah, probably. But he does a much better job. Okay. Anyway, getting back to this. So, next up is healing. And I think I already discussed this, but I don't see a reason why healing needs to extend. I mean, it's already taking a minimal amount of healing from everything in the region to heal you. Yeah, I don't see this changing. And JP says a necromancer doesn't have to be an evil alignment. Chaotic neutral necromancers could hire skeletons out as day laborers, dog walkers, contributing members of society. Again, my necropolis that I built, where every single person who died was interred into the city. And when I say into the city, I mean, think about classic architecture, where you had these big stone buildings, and at the corner of the buildings you had these great big piles. Great big block right there in the corner, and then you had all the masonry that goes up the side. What if all of those corners was just empty? And instead of leaving it empty, when somebody died, you could simply bury them inside. And so whenever your loved one dies, they are laid to rest somewhere in the city. You bury them wearing armor, you bury them with a weapon, and then you seal it up. Number one, it means that if it's your family member, you know where to go. You don't have to travel to a cemetery because it's just somewhere in the city. You can go there, pay your respects. Imagine that every single one of these sarcophagi around the city were decorated by the family and friends of that person. Imagine how beautiful that city could be. Like, vandalism would not be a thing, because you're not going to vandalize somebody's sarcophagus. Even if you were dumb enough to try, the family is going to murder you and put you into another sarcophagus yourself. So, vandalism, not really a problem. The place is going to be beautiful because people are going to decorate, And in the event that the city is ever under attack, the necromancer in charge of the necropolis casts one spell, and every single sarcophagus opens. And once every sarcophagus opens, every single person who is buried in armor and buried with a weapon goes to war. Do you remember that whole thing during World War II about Japan desperately wanted to invade the US but dared not try because, in their own words, there was a gun behind every blade of grass? That would be my necropolis. Do you really want to try this, knowing that the minute you set foot in this town, there is going to be an army that is going to emerge from everywhere? The answer to that is no. You are not going anywhere near that necropolis. Okay. Anyway, Gate of Infinity is going to stay the same. I literally don't even need to change the wording on it. As teleport, range is listed above, number of people equal to sensitivity. It's simple. So now you can teleport across the world. Telekine Dome. I do not see a way that this extends. Oh, and JP was saying, said Necro uses the undead army to defend the living when invaded. So many cool possibilities. I know! And I mean, that you also have to keep in mind, this is not implying that the necropolis doesn't have an army. Again, if every single person, or at least every able-bodied man in the necropolis, also has a sword, then as soon as the town or the necropolis is invaded, every single man goes to war, backed up by every single dead person that they have been burying for however many decades or centuries. It's not just raising an army, it is essentially tripling, quadrupling, quintupling your army. Okay, Telekine Dome, I do not see a way that this extends. Because it's already basically just an alarm, so you know when something like a starship is coming. And right now it's only huge or larger. I don't know that I can do much better than that. Because if I extend it even further, it's going to have to be either gargantuan and larger, colossal and larger, titanic and larger. At some point, it's like, look, you're only going to be detecting something like a meteor coming. And I don't see the point. And it'll be coming half a world away. Dominate. Already we're down to suggestions. I don't think that this really works. Which brings me down to divination, which I think we can just copy. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this down. So for divination, and here's where the cost of it comes in. Divination has remained the same ever since the combat level, or precognition has remained the same since the combat level. The only difference is essentially the more points you spend, the further away you can ask questions of. And so at the combat level, you can only ask questions about what might happen in combat. However, when we're talking about spending like upwards of 125 points to know what's going on the other side of the planet, I mean, there are reasons why you might want to do this. Let's see. Jeffrey says, wait, that brings up the thought of raising another necromancer from the dead. And JP says, is there a difference between raising the dead versus raising the undead? Technically, yes. And here's the thing about that. Can you raise a necromancer from the dead? Yes. So, you're in combat, you're here, your friend is a necromancer, you're a necromancer, your friend takes an arrow to the eyeball. He's dead. And so you cast Raise Dead. Well, here's the thing. He's a zombie. Okay? All you've done is raise his body with negative energy, and it's now a zombie. Your friend is still gone. This is the important difference between all of the undead and a lich. See, you can have something like a vampire, and a vampire is technically part of the undead because they don't die. It's not that they have died and now they're back, it's that they just don't die. Now, the question then becomes, what of the actual person? And do they have what you would call a soul? And this is where we have to draw a line. When it comes to a skeleton, zombie, ghoul, whatever, they don't have a soul. And that's the big difference, because a soul is everything that you are. A soul is your personality. A soul is your memories. A soul is everything that makes you the individual person that you are. Skeletons, zombies, ghouls, things of that nature don't have that. Even ghosts, even though they are a spirit, do not have a soul. So there's a distinction there. If you were to raise a necromancer, you would essentially just get a soulless, undead vessel. When it comes to things like liches, you have to understand that to become a lich, you first have to be a wizard of some sort. Generally a necromancer, but it's not impossible for other schools of magic to become a lich too. Then you have to transform yourself into a lich. And I wonder if I can actually look that up. Hold on a second. Come on. My browser's been really weird lately. I want my bestiary. I want elves. Leashy's lich. Here we go. Okay. Once find robes hang in tatters from this withered corpse's frame. Pale blue light shines from where its eyes should be. So a lich is basically just a skeleton because everything else has rotted away. But does it tell me how to make one? It does not. Okay, well, I don't know where the rules for how to become a lich are, but essentially what you need is to just make a phylactery, and I believe once you make the phylactery, it's done. So let me see if I can find how to do that. Oh, I take it back. Actually, not everyone can. Prohibited schools are illusion and transmutation, so illusionists and transmuters cannot become a lich. Well, that's just rude. I'm an illusionist. Now I hate liches even more. Where was the phylactery? Yeah, other forms of phylactery can exist, but I want to see the actual phylactery. Phylactery, phylactery, phylactery. Because once you craft the phylactery, you're basically a lich now. Phylactery. Pathfinder. Okay, this is from the actual Pathfinder wiki, which I am not on right now. The phylactery is a small box that contains with various written text and parchment. They're usually strapped to the forehead. No, they're not. The most infamous of all phylacteries are those created by potential liches to hold their souls, usually known as soul cages. Alright, fine, let's go to Soul Cage. Soul Cage phylactery, it's a magic item. Okay, it is a level 12 wondrous item. You have to be at least level 12 to cast this in the first place. Construction, here we go. So soul cages are incredibly expensive to produce, costing upwards of 120,000 gold pieces. If a lich is destroyed but their soul cage is not, they will simply reform in 1 to 10 days near their soul cage, most likely with an intense desire to kill the person that caused them their temporary demise. Therefore, they make sure to hide their soul cage very carefully, as their immortality depends on it. So, I guess technically all you really need is craft wondrous item. And you can do that. And I know this is a bit of a tangent, but seeing as how we're pretty much done with Psykers at this point, I think I can afford the tangent. So, wondrous items. Oh, and JP says, the dead, the undead, and the dying. Somebody should make a movie about that. Let's see. So, here we go. Magic items, wondrous. There's belts, bodies, chest, eyes, feet, hands, heads, headbands, necks, shoulders, wrists, and slotless. Well, slotless items, I believe, is what we're talking about. So I do wonder if maybe we'll find it in here, because that would be cool. So these are all least minor. I'm going to go all the way down to the most, or the most expensive ones. Is this stuff alphabetical? No, probably not. I'm actually just going to do a search. Phylactery. Phylactery of Faithfulness, Phylactery of the Shepherd, Phylactery of Negative Channeling, Positive Channeling, and that's it. Just those. Alright, well, let's take a look at one. Let's take a look at the Negative Channeling. So this item is a boon to any character able to channel negative energy, increases the amount of damage dealt to living creatures by 2d6. It also increases the amount of healing by undead creatures. Requires craft wondrous item. The creator must be a level 10 cleric, and it costs 5,500 gold pieces. Okay, then there we go. That's basically what you would need. You would need to have, or the cost would be 120,000 gold pieces. You would have to be at least a level 12 necromancer to do it. And you would need craft wondrous item. So do that, and essentially you can become a lich. And the reason why liches are skeletons is because that's how long they've been alive. I mean, once you know you're immortal, you don't really need to eat, or drink, or sleep, or anything. And so your body can die. But since you're essentially animated by magic now, you can just keep on doing whatever it is you're doing while your body just rots away until you're nothing but a skeleton and ragged robes, because things like the flesh are beneath you. Things like clothing are beneath you. Everything is beneath you at that point. You are an immortal wizard or sorcerer. And so that's why you can have a lich, which is an undead, technically, but it still has a mind. So technically, if you wanted to raise a necromancer, you would have to first find a necromancer, and then you wouldn't necessarily cast Raise Dead at them. You would cast Resurrect. At which point, though, their soul would be put back into their body, and they would no longer be dead. They wouldn't be undead, they would just be alive. And then you could lich them. Because technically speaking, I don't necessarily know that you have to cast the phylactery spell on yourself. I think you can actually cast it on other people, which I have done. I actually had one campaign where the king wanted immortality, and so a necromancer made him a phylactery and trapped his soul in the soul cage. And it's like, congratulations, you're now immortal. Have fun. So, I did have technically like a level 5 party fight a lich, and they won. But he wasn't really that much of a lich. The fun thing about him was, though, because he was undead, technically, I just had him use power attack all the time. It's like, is my AC great? No. Is my chance to hit great? No. However, I have all the time in the world. Power attack on every attack. Because I don't care. I'll hit you eventually. Okay. So, getting back to Psykers. I think we got the continental area done. And, I mean, that's essentially good enough. There's not much that you can do at this level that is going to... that's going to affect a lot of things. Again, you can raise and lower the temperature a little bit, like 20 degrees either way. You can poison things, you can disrupt things, you can teleport, and you can know what's going on. But we've reached the end there. And so, the last one that we do is going to be the planetary level. So we're going to come over here, and I'm just going to say this can be planetary. So we only have a few things left. We have energy release, we have telekinesis, and we have divination. And as far as energy release goes, what else am I supposed to do here? So we have to change our ranges again. But I think this is going to be easy. So if 50% went down by 10 at every level, this is going to be 100% at the beta level. And this is going to be 80%. It's going to be 60%. This will be 50%. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. This will be 20%. And then the rest of these honestly don't even matter. Let's be straight here. These really don't matter. But I'm going to do these anyway. And the reason I say that these don't matter is because no one can actually do these unless you're in the purple category. But I'm going to figure it out anyway. So 100 divided by 15 is 6 2/3. So that means that this is going to be 7%. And this is going to be 13%. So this is going to be, if I'm going downwards, this will be 93. This will be 87, 73, 67, 53, 47, yeah, 47. This is supposed to be 40%. This is going to be 33. This is going to be 27. And there we go. And that means that this will be 107%. Okay, so there's our ranges. Percent. And JP says, sitcom style, Necro and Cleric life insurance company called For Life. If we can't res them, we'll raise them. Stop by our combined services office today. I mean, you can literally do that in town. Just to point out, if we come back to here, I don't want trade goods. I want, yeah, here we go, hirelings, servants, and services. So this is all the basic prices that you'll find in town. If you have to get in, that's how much. If you want to stay the night at an inn, that's how much. If you want to bath. Contingency services, you know, just in case you're worried that you might die. Also, if you're working, I mean, if you want to be something like a footman for somebody, this is how much you can expect to make per day. It's pretty good. But spellcasting, right here. If you want spellcasting services, and if your city can provide those services, because they can't necessarily all provide it. Caster level plus spell level plus 10 or caster level times spell level times 10 gold pieces. For example, I was just involved in a role play where my character was doing healing for somebody. And so my character is a level 7 illusionist. However, I do know the spell Greater Celestial Healing just because it's good to have a healing spell. It's a level 4 spell. And so, my caster level is 7 times the spell level, which is 4, that's 28, times 10 gold pieces is 280. And that's how much it would cost to get the healing, which, by the way, for Greater Celestial Healing is a ripoff. Because Greater Celestial Healing just gives you fast healing 4 for a number of turns equal to half your level rounded down, which in my case is only 3 turns, which means that it's 280 gold pieces to heal 12 hit points. Do not come to my character and ask for healing. It's not worth it. Does it actually show spellcasting? No, it doesn't down here. Well, it does describe it. So, yeah, you could totally offer that. However, no one's going to be able to afford it, because keep in mind that, like, Resurrection has in its materials, you need a diamond that costs at least 10,000 gold pieces. This spellcasting cost right here does not include any material components. It also says, see spell description for additional cost. If the additional cost put the spell's total cost at above 3,000 gold pieces, this spell is generally not available. And JP says, no, it's called lifetime commitment. Okay, that is funny. Okay, that's a good one. Now see, you've already got a plan. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is why profession comes in handy. It's like, I'm going to make a necromancer. Great. What do you do when you're not necromancing? I don't know. Well, here's an idea. You can be some kind of, like, relationship or life counselor thing. You gotta make it work for you. Okay, anyway, back to the Psykers. So, planetary level. There is really only one thing at the planetary level. And I can't keep this straight, so I need to put a line here. There we go. Energy release. The only thing at this level is going to be planetary destruction. So, for the low cost of 250 power points for your psychic powers, you can destroy a certain percentage of the planet. Now, for somebody like a Pi, that would be impossible. But if they could destroy upwards of 7%. So, like, there might be some kind of tool out there that would give them the ability to do that, but I don't know how that would work. So, planetary destruction. Let's work on it. So, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cause a percentage of the planet to violently detonate outwards. Now, when I talk about a percentage of the planet, I do not necessarily mean just the surface of the planet. I mean from the core outward as like a cone. So if it is 100% of the planet, that is 100% of that cone, which is going to be the entire sphere, is just going to go boom. Alright, there's a few things that we have to consider. And I don't even know if I need to consider this because, like, if you are on part of the planet that is destroyed, I think you're dead. I mean, I haven't done the math on that one yet. I haven't rolled the dice and I haven't consulted the chicken entrails or rolled the bones. But I'm pretty sure if you're on part of the planet that just exploded, I think you're dead. I will go ahead and grant you a fortitude save for half damage. It's going to be half of infinity. So, I think if you're on part of the planet that exploded, you're gone. All buildings are gone, all vehicles are gone, all starships are gone, just everything is gone. However, keep in mind that the lowest level that can do this, because again, these are going to cost 250 points. So let's go ahead and this is going to be 250 psychic points each. We have to keep in mind that the number of points that you have is equal to your sensitivity times the level. That means that for a Delta level Psyker, that's 13, times level 20 is 260 points. Epsilon, which is only level 12, is going to be 240. So these guys can't really do it. They can't get up enough power to destroy part of a planet. But that does mean that with a delta, there is technically the chance that you could destroy the planet and still be standing on it. There's still 13% of the planet left. I don't think that you'd want to be standing on it at the time, though, because I think the knock-on effects of that would be lethal. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to just say... all living things are killed. All buildings are destroyed. All vehicles and starships are destroyed. Okay, and if the destruction is less than 100%, the planetary remains become a molten, floating, barren rock. Now, what about ships in orbit? So, let's see. Ships in orbit take... Oh, okay, this is gonna be really good. Ships in orbit take hull or take damage roll psychic power, deal damage to one facing of the starship mitigated by shields. Well, not mitigated. To one facing of the starship, deal damage to shields first. So, if we have something like, say, an alpha category Psyker, that would be 16 D12s of hull damage. Just going by the ship that my players currently have, this is going to end poorly. That is a maximum of 192 hull damage. Which is probably going to end whatever ship is in orbit. Let me just scroll that up there so everyone can see. So yeah, cause a percentage of the planet to detonate outwards. Oh, one thing that I should put here actually. Let's see, if planetary destruction is less than 100%, roll a D% to see if the starship is affected. and then roll psychic power, deal damage to one facing of the starship, deal damage to shields first. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Oh, and JP says, did you not get to finish your argument before dying? Did he not tell you the combo to the safe before getting killed? Call lifetime commitment today, and make sure you always get the last word. Lifetime commitment. See an office near you. And then you gotta hire a bard to do performances in the street to get attention for you. You gotta get him one of those signs that he can spin around, you know, one of the giant arrows so he can point to your office door. You'll have to get somebody who can decorate, because the front or the building that you're in has to be half decorated in white and everything holy, the other half decorated in black and everything necromancy. JP says, necromancer prosecutor, Your Honor, I'm just a simple country lawyer, but I do believe the best witness is the victim. And then turns and points to the rotting corpse in the back row. I call the victim to the stand. JP also says, competing life insurance companies. Clerics Res versus Necros Raise, racing each other to the accident scenes like ambulance chasers. And the surrounding temples are just standing outside their door, shaking their head. It's like, this is what we've come to. Alright, so planetary destruction. I think this is looking appropriately terrifying. And I love it. I really do. Like, you would not be able to do this until you're either a level 20 Delta or like a level 17 Alpha, I think. Let's see, 16 times 19, 18, or no, 18, 17, 16. Okay, no, a level 16 alpha level Psyker could destroy a planet. Because at that level they'd have 256 points. They would have enough power for one planetary destruction. Okay then, now that you got that, the last is just the telekinesis and the divination. Neither of which is going to change. I mean, as teleport, the range is listed above. So you can teleport this far around the planet if you can afford it. So you would still need to be somewhere in the purple and a high enough level to do that. So instead of region, though, this has got to be about the planet or potentially other planets. I need to add that in there. So you can know pretty much anything on the planet you're standing on, or even maybe other planets. Like if you're looking for something and it's not here, maybe you're at the wrong world. And a sufficient Psyker could tell where it is. Now, I'm not going with being able to teleport between different planets, because I think that'd be a bit much, and I've never heard of it before. However, Psykers are weird, and so maybe. But there we go. I think that's it. I think we're done with Psykers. And I love them. I really do. I think that these Psykers are absolutely great. I mean, for starters, even if you are just a Pi level Psyker back here at the beginning, I think it's fantastic. One of the things, though, that I have to keep pointing out, though, is the entire time I've been making these, I have not really been thinking about this. Because this is always a challenge. Every time you roll a 1 on the dice, there is the chance that this happens. And since the will save is equal to your sensitivity, you could end up making a lot of rolls. This is what's really going to balance everything out, is because you can use your psychic powers as much as you want, but you have to remember that there is always the chance that something is going to happen here. There is only a 1/3 chance that it happens. However, it's just... I cannot express how dangerous these Psykers are, not just to themselves, but to everyone around them. They're a danger to you if they're on, or if they're not on your side. They're a danger to their allies because things can go wrong. But it could be worth it. I mean, if you are willing to take the risk. And so just let me pull up my my Roll20 here. So let's go ahead and see what kind of Psyker I can get. So I'm going to go with a 1,000 point roll. And I rolled a 76. I rolled a 76 on a D1000. 76 puts me in Moo category. It's not the highest level Psyker, but still. Green is where people know that there's something weird about them. And so, what level character should I make? GR1D20. Wow, this is going really slow today. Okay, level 14. Okay, so we're level 14 character. That means that if I look at our psychic power dice, we're rolling D10s. There's only a 10% chance of backfire. Now, what kind of ability should we use? Okay? What kind of ability should we use? Let's just throw a fireball, okay? We'll throw a fireball. So at level 14, that's here. Oh, that's caps lock. There we go. Alright, so we want to throw a fireball. That is going to be a long-range burst, because that's what they do. So a fireball is going to be D5s in strength. And because I'm a Moo, I get to roll 5 of those. So if I go back to Roll20, that means that I'm going to go ahead and roll 5d5. And when I roll 5d5, I end up rolling a 4, 3, 1, 3, and 1. So I do a total of 12 damage to everything in a 20-foot radius. Which is not bad. 20-foot radius, that's 4 squares in all directions. Okay. However, I did roll 2 1s, which means I have to make will saves. Now the DC is sensitivity, so the odds of me failing this are not good. But I'm gonna go GR1D20 plus 1d4, because I don't know what our modifier is going to be. And since will save, let's assume that we have a good will save. So what's a good will save? Well, it's going to be Starfinder, so let's say we're something like, I don't know, an Envoy. They have a good will save, right? Yeah. So at level 14, that'd be a plus 9. So plus 9. That means that basically we can only fail on a natural 1. Okay. And neither one of those was a failure. What else should we do? I mean, think about it. If you were a Psyker, what would you do with your powers? What should we try? We come over to the local level. And we look at domination. So, for domination, it's a number of days until complete. The affected area rolls, or makes a will save. And so I'd have to figure out what the will save of the general population is. But it's a 1d%, so it's 1d100. 1d100 minus their will save. So if I roll this, that's going to come out to a 54. And of course, you can compel your friends to do it too, because they're involved in this too. And then I make a percentage roll to determine success or failure. So I need to roll a 1 through 54, because that's how much I've got. So I want to roll low on this one. I rolled a 67. I failed. But you know what? I noticed that there's absolutely no chance of a backfire when doing this. Well, except I guess technically you have to roll your psychic power to determine the will DC. So if I do that, that's going to be again 5d10 actually. So GR 5d10, because at that level you're rolling d10s. The DC to resist this is 35. And I rolled a 9, 10, 7, 5, 4. There's no chance of a backfire. I like this system. I really like this system. I think that Psykers are going to be terrifying. I think that if you have a Psyker on your team, it's going to be incredible. I also think that if you're playing and you come across a Psyker, like one of the first things that you're going to ask yourself is maybe whether we should leave or not. I mean, if you're fighting a Psyker, there's like no part of this where things go well for you. Like the best chance scenario if you're fighting against a Psyker is that things backfire on them and they end up, say, confusing themselves. Or it backfires on them and whatever they're doing retargets to them. I mean, if they become possessed by a demon, they're just going to try and kill you anyway. I guess they could die. If they explode, maybe they take you with, or if they become a conduit for a demon, then yeah, now you're fighting a demon. So have fun with that, I guess. All in all, it's bad time for everybody. But I do think this is going to be good. And of course, this is all in addition to everything else that your character gets. So, like, you could be playing an Imperial Guardsman. And you could also roll up as a Psyker. At which point, yeah, you're a guardsman, you've been given a last gun and some armor and stuff, but if you're a burgeoning Psyker that's not been identified, or maybe you have been identified and you're trying to flee, this is going to be so much fun. I cannot wait. Okay, so that means the only thing really left to do is these nulls. Oh, and one thing I do need to change is all of this resistance stuff. So this is going to be range, actually. And I'm at the combat level. So range is going to be C ability. Copy, paste. At the regional level, or no, not regional, at the local level, this is going to be range in miles. Okay, and I don't have enough time to go into these, but here's what I'm thinking. And that was in the wrong place. So I need to go over, I need to do the orange and the red now. And what I need is to figure out what exactly they do to other people. Now, if we go to the Psyker page and we look into what they do. Disciplines, which we've already been through. Psyker grade examples. Okay? Or maybe not that. Not the pluses. 'Cause I don't want those. Wait, Omicron, Kappa, Iota. Wait, where is it? Oh, it starts here. Okay, gotcha. Here we go. Okay, so Omega. Omega minus. These Psykers are actually the anti-Psykers, usually referred to as the Untouchables or the Blanks. These individuals are so inert in the warp as to actually exhibit a negative psychic influence on others. This primarily manifests in real space as a region of blankness, hence the name, surrounding the individual where psychic powers simply will not work. It is impossible for psychic powers or entities native to the Immaterium to penetrate or affect this space. Imperial science has learned that these psychically inert regions surrounding the Omega grade subject even interferes with natural bioelectric function in an organic brain. This neurological effect on others often results in the development of irrational fear and loathing that baseline humans nearly always display towards blanks. This can even manifest in psychosomatic effects such as thinking that the blank emits a highly offensive odor. For Psykers, however, the sheer presence of a blank produces excruciating physical and mental distress. So what we have here is a couple of things. Number one, psychic powers are not just resisted, they are impossible. Like if you put an alpha level Psyker and an omega Psyker, well, an omega person, a blank, together, the alpha can exhaust themselves throwing psychic energy at a blank, and the blank can sit there and simply suck it up. They are untouchable. Now, that is by direct assault anyway, so if the alpha level Psyker tries to throw a fireball at them, the fireball is just gone. Try to shoot lightning at them, it's gone. Try to dominate their mind, it's gone. You can't do anything to them directly. Indirectly, they could throw things at them. They could throw, say, a chunk of the wall at them. Literally, when we look at this, at the combat level, if we scroll down to telekinesis, the assault is not going to work because this is direct damage. However, assail, right here. So the range is long, roll psychic power, move or throw an object that is less to or equal to the roll in bulk, one bulk being 10 pounds. If the object is secured, you have to make a strength check using the roll to remove it. So, for example, I'm going to come back to here, and I want to go to... Where is it? I think it's under combat. Where is combat? Oh wait, is combat up here? No, it's not. Feats, skills, equipment. Wait, game mastering. Here we go. Combat. If I open that up, space reach? No. Environment? Well, there's castles and keeps, but I don't think that's about how much it costs to get one. I'm going to go to combat. I can look this up through Sundering, I do believe. That's Feint. That's Trip. There's Sunder. Here we go. Hardness and hit points. So, object hardness and hit points. Ropes are simple, but here we go. A masonry wall that is 1 foot thick has a break DC of 35. So, masonry wall, that's just bricks. And so that means that you would need to roll your psychic power to try and rip this out of the wall. So since we've already got a Mu level Psyker at level 14, let's try that. I'm just going to come over here to roll 20. I know you can't see it, just I'm rolling dice. I'm going to roll my 5d10 again. And I rolled... Come on. A 29. So I rolled a 2, 4, 10, 4, 9. It's only 29, which means that my Psyker is going to reach out to the side with their hand, reach out with the warp, grab that brick wall, and pull. But because the brick wall is too firmly in place, they're going to pull and they can't pull it free. So that means that the other person is going to get a turn. On the next turn, I try to pull out that wall again. Okay, I'm pulling, I'm pulling, I'm pulling. 3, 3, 2, 4, 5. It's only 17. I fail again. So they get another turn. On my next turn, I try to rip this wall out again. 9, 1, 2, 10, and 8 is only 30. I can't do it. And I have to make a check to make sure that I don't backfire. So, you know, not as easy as it seems. I could maybe grab something else. Like, if I can't pull out the wall itself, can I get a door? To break or burst items. Okay, how about this? To break down a strong door is only 23. Can I rip the door off its hinges? Let's try. I rolled a 5, 4, 7, 5, 9. That is 30. I can rip the door right off its hinges. So I do that. I rip the door off its hinges, and then according to the rules of assail, I can then throw the object at them. How much is a door weigh? I'm not even sure. A strong door, so we're talking like an exterior door, maybe a metal door, might weigh, I don't know, 50 pounds, 75 pounds, something like that. So we're talking like 7d6, maybe 8d6 worth of damage to throw it. And while the Omega can't be moved directly, we can rip that door off its hinges, throw the door at them, and being a blank isn't going to stop that. But other powers are not going to work. In addition to that, even trying to use it is going to be difficult because of how these guys function. What I think we're going to end up doing is, since these all go up by 3s, I think it's going to be immune, and I'm also going to put /21 here. Because what I think I want to do is that everywhere, or when you're around these guys, it's going to be difficult to cast, to use your powers. Essentially what it's going to come down to is, in order to use your psychic powers around them, you're going to have to overcome their own presence. And what I mean by that is this. Let's roll up a new character here to contest against our the Moo Psyker that we have. So I want anybody who is 973 or higher. So it's going to be... Where's my calculator? 1,000 minus 973 is 27. So it's going to be 1d27 plus 972. So GR 1d27 minus... No, plus 972. So this will give us a negative Psyker. And I got 993. That is, here, a Phi level. So -4. Now the range is going to depend, I believe, on what they are. Although, for these guys... I mean, you don't even have a range. But we have 7 of them. I could maybe say close range, medium range, and long. Or I could say close and then 2 mediums and 2 longs. Either way, though, let's just say that this guy's going to be medium range. And because he's got 4, what level is this guy? We'll roll 1d20. And he's going to be level 12. Nice. So we got a level 14 Moo Psyker and a level 12 Phi. And I don't even know if they have a word. Do they have a word for that? Side through Sigma grades represents individuals who are oblivious to the fluctuations of the warp and immune to psychic probing by a telepath. So there's not really a name for them. They're just resistant. But that means that, let's say that the Mu Psyker wants to send a fireball at the Phi. Before they can even do it, they have to overcome the very presence of a Phi level Psyker. So we come down here to the rolls. 9 through 12 is a D8. And Phi is a -4. So the Phi is going to roll those 4 D8s. And 4 D8s is going to come out to be 13. And then our Mu Psyker, who has 5 D10s, is going to roll. So the resistance put up by the Phi Psyker is 13. The Mu rolled a 2, 3, 2, 2, 10. And that's a 19. Which means that the Mu level Psyker is able to overcome that and can get off the fireball. That also means that technically, yes, your person or your null there just got fireballed. There's no real stopping it once it's been cast. At least I don't think. I'm not sure about that yet. We'll have to work on that because I don't know. Would there be some kind of resistance there? Would they be able to, say, roll again and take that damage off, making them possibly immune to it? Like, if I rolled the dice on a fireball, that means that the Mu is then going to do 5d5 damage. 5d5 damage is going to come out to, wow, that's 5, 1, 1, 1 plus 4 is 12. If we got to resist that, 4d8, we could do a damage reduction of 18, which means that the fireball could go off and potentially negate all that damage. I'm not sure. And PC Unicorn says, so they're a blue magic player. I mean, kinda. Like, the only trick they really have in their bag is they're the anti-psyker. Now, of course, the downside to this is, as they pointed out here, the neurological effect in others results in an irrational fear and loathing that baseline humans nearly always display towards blanks. I mean, people will murder them. So when we look at things like, I don't know if they have this in Starfinder. Let's look at skills. And I want to look at diplomacy. Diplomacy, here we go. So, change attitudes. These are the following attitudes that people can have. At the very best, you have helpful. And like, if you're trying diplomacy on somebody who is helpful, there is no DC. They just do it. Beyond that, there is friendly, then there's indifferent, and then there's unfriendly, and there's hostile. Like, everybody in here, in this orange and red, is going to be somewhere in the unfriendly and hostile. And as a matter of fact, I think that everyone in the orange could be unfriendly, and anyone in red is hostile. By default. Now, that doesn't mean that you as players would have to, like, kill them, but it does mean that walking into every single encounter, if you are an Omega, people will try to kill you on sight. There doesn't need to be a reason. There will not be a warning. You are going to walk into an area and people will kill you. And if you happen to roll up a play or a character like this, which is 0.1%, you're going to have to deal with that. And that 0.1% represents the facts, or represents the idea that Omegas are killed on sight. There's that few of them. It means that any diplomacy that you do is basically doomed if you're in the orange. You can't diplomacy anyone. You can't really bluff anyone. I would skip both of those and just put all your points into intimidate at that point. Because everything else is just pointless. Okay then. Yeah. So I think that's how we're gonna go. I think that's how we're gonna make that work. I may have to work on this, but again, we'll work on this later. So I think I'm going to wrap things up here. I'm already over time. You want to get out of here. I'm not going to hold people up any longer. So I think our Psykers look good. I think that the nulls and blanks are going to be really good when we get to them as well. I think it's going to be a very big challenge to actually play one, but I do think it will make things interesting. Doubly so if the players actually manage to roll both a Psyker and somebody in the orange in the same game. That would be wild. I can't even imagine it. But that'll have to wait. Again, I will be leaving on a trip. I'll be in Colorado for a couple of weeks, so there's not going to be a tabletop stream for a couple of weeks. When we get back, though, we'll do the orange and reds, and after that, we just have to do warp travel, and we're done. It's been a long road to get here, but we finish up Psykers with the oranges and reds. We handle warp travel, which shouldn't be too hard, I don't think. And that's it. The end is in sight. It's gonna be fun to start something else. We've been steeped in Warhammer for so long. I'm eager to try something different, but I'm also eager to see the end of this. So if you want to see the end of this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon. That way you get notified when these streams come out, because they're not going to come out for a while. If you know somebody else who's also into tabletop stream or tabletop games, well, or if they're into tabletop streams too, there's that as well. Tabletop games though, or Warhammer 40k, share this with them because they might get something out of it. If you just like me though and what I'm doing, leave a like down in the video. Especially now, I need likes to keep me warm while I'm gone. Leave a like down below, leave a comment down below. If you want to keep in contact, though, even while I'm away, join the Discord server, because while I won't have a stream, I will have a phone, and I am always connected to Discord. So join the Discord through the link. If the link doesn't work, leave a comment. I'll get you a link that works. So do that, and then you can come yell at me all you want in the Discord. If you want to play with us, you have to join the Discord, because that's where we do the playing. So go to the Discord, go to the behind the scenes channel, and let me know what your availability and interest are. And I'll see if I can work you in somewhere. And trust me, I will do my best to work you in. Don't you worry about that. So join the Discord, come hang out with us. Otherwise, I will see you in a couple of weeks. It's going to be a long couple of weeks. I'm going to miss you guys. But I'll be back. And until then, take care.